Here's a worksheet on factoring, finding factors, finding roots. And I'm going to erase this. All of this looks correct, except I don't know where the 3i comes from. And also, those are not factors. Those look like roots. Those are the wrong roots, but they look like roots. Sorry about the phone ringing. Hold on, let me turn off the phone. I don't want to turn off the phone because I need to send a text message in a few minutes. Now I'm going to pair these things, and it's already been done here. So grouping x to the fourth plus x cubed. And then the other group I have is that, so it's plus, and then minus 3x squared minus 3x. Don't forget that step. You are not multiplying those things together. You are adding those pairs of factors. So now I can find and how do I know what to pair together? Well, I look for things that I think I have common terms of. So those two have x cubed as a common term. These two have minus 3 as a common term, minus 3x actually. You could pair them other ways and it would work, but I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to factor out x cubed on this one. 4 minus 3 is 1, so that's x to the first. 3 minus 3 is 0. X to the 0 is 1. Plus, and I'm going to factor out a negative 3, so it's plus negative 3 times, which is just negative 3 times. And that's going to be x, negative 3x rather, is factored out. Negative 3x times x is negative 3x squared. Negative 3x divided by negative 3x is plus 1. So I've got x cubed minus 3x. And since both of them are multiplied by the same thing, that's how I can write the factors. But this first one isn't done because I can factor out an x. So this is x times x squared. 3 minus 1 is 2. And then negative 3x divided by x is negative 3 times x plus 1. Probably that is good enough for the factors. However, x squared minus 3 is really x squared minus square root of 3 squared. I don't think you have to go this far, but I'm just showing it. So this is difference of 2 squares, so it's going to be x plus square root of 3 and x minus square root of 3. Usually it stops at integer factors, so you can write this as the factors, or you can write x times those times x plus 1. If you want to factor that difference of 2 squares. So you could also write that as the factors. That would not be incorrect. But okay, either way. And now the roots, set each one equal to 0. X equals 0, x is 0. Where can I write this? I don't have room. I need room. I guess I'll put it here. X squared minus 3 equals 0. X squared equals 3. Take the square root of both sides. X equals plus or minus square root of 3. Roots always come in pairs. Plus or minus square root of 3. And then x plus 1 equals 0. X equals minus 1. So those are your roots. 0 plus or minus square root of 3 minus 1. And the factors, I'm pretty sure this is enough. I just somehow minimized. I think that's enough. X squared minus 3, and x plus 1. And it's done by grouping. All right, this one, x cubed minus 5x squared plus 4x. That is blather. It's not right. I will factor out an x. X times x squared minus 5x. I'm just lowering the power of each x. Plus 4 by 1 power equals 0. So now, one of the factors is x. I have to find factors of 4 that add to minus 5. How about negative 4 and negative 1? So this is x minus 4 and x minus 1. And I should have, as long as I was writing it, I should have just put it in the right place. So there's your factors. And then I need the roots. Set each one equal to 0. In other words, these signs are going to flip. x equals 0, x equals 4, x equals 1. If you plug all of these, the original question, into Symbolab, it will give you the factors and the roots. And if you pay, I think it's $3.33 a month, paid a year in advance, you can get all the steps. So to double check what you're doing if you don't understand. This one I want factors and roots. This is going to be U substitution because I have 4 and then 2. So when I go 4, 2, I want to do U substitution. Eventually you'll skip the U substitution part. U equals x squared. U squared equals x squared squared, which is x to the 4th. So now I can rewrite this as U squared minus 10u plus 9. Now I want numbers that multiply to 9, add to minus 10. How about negative 9, negative 1? So this is u minus 9 and u minus 1. But remember, u is not just u is x squared. So this is really x squared minus 9. X squared minus 1. And that's difference of two squares. This is x squared minus 3 squared. And this is x squared minus 1 squared. So this is x plus 3, x minus 3, x plus 1, x minus 1. You have to know difference of 2 squared. A squared minus b squared is a plus b times a minus b. So those are the factors. To get the roots, flip the signs. Well, it's plus or minus 3, plus or minus 1. Those are the roots. Next, that was number 3. Number 4, write a polynomial function of least degree with integral coefficients. I think it's supposed to be integer coefficients, not integral coefficients. Integrals is calculus. Okay. I think that's kind of right, what's written there already, although it's not actually complete. And now let me, I can already see I'm going to need more room on this. So I'm going to pull this thing out and zoom back in. Mr. Camera, zoom. Okay, and then I'm going to clear up that space, just to clear it up. All right, I know how much space I need to do things. All right, so these are the given zeros. So this is really x equal to, x equal minus 4, x equal plus or minus square root of 2. And now I will subtract 2 from both sides. I get x minus 2 equals 0. So the factor is x minus 2. I will add 4 to both sides. It's x plus 4 equals 0, but x plus 4 is the factor. And then x equal plus or minus square root of 2, I'm going to square both sides. X squared equals 2. And then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. X squared minus 2 equals 0. So those are the factors of this polynomial. X minus 2, x plus 4, x squared minus 2. Now, to find the polynomial, I'll just multiply all those together. So I'm going to do these two first. FOIL, first times first, x squared. Outside times outside, minus 2 times 4 is minus 8. Inside, that was last times last. I should have done outside times outside. X times 4 is 4x. Inside times inside, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. 4x minus 2x is 2x. I got my FOIL. It doesn't matter as long as I multiply every term by every other term. But as long as I was doing FOIL, I should have done it. And this is x squared minus 2. And now again, I'm going to multiply every term by every other term. X squared times x squared, I guess I'll write it here, is x to the 4th. 2x times x squared is plus 2x cubed. Negative 8 times x squared is minus 8x squared. Now I'm going to multiply the minus 2 by all three of those. X squared times minus 2 is minus 2x squared. 2x times minus 2 is minus 4x. And then negative 8 times negative 2 is plus 16. So there's my whole polynomials. X to the fourth plus 2x cubed minus 8x squared minus 2x squared is minus 10x squared. And then minus, oh good grief, minus 4x plus 16. Boy, that goes on forever. So that's a polynomial. And if you plug that into Symbolab, it will show you that those are in fact the roots. Now, look what they say of least degree, because I could multiply this whole thing by x and it would still have those four roots along with another root. I can multiply it by all kinds of things and it would still have those four roots. But that's the least degree. Now this one is tricky. It's tricky. Let's look at this one. This one is tricksy, my precious. Okay, notice this first one gave square root of 2 and minus square root of 2. Whenever roots or I are the solutions, they always come in pairs, plus I minus I, plus square root of something minus square root of something. So if square root of 6 is a root, so is negative square root of 6. Is I is a root, so is negative I. So this is x equals plus or minus square root of 6, and x equals plus or minus I, which is plus or minus square root of negative 1. I will square both sides. X squared plus 6. Not plus 6. What am I doing? X squared equals 6. And this is x squared equals negative 1. And now I will just subtract 6 from both sides. This is x squared minus 6. And this is x squared plus 1. Now multiply them together. First times first. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. Outside, outside. X squared times 1 plus x squared. Inside, inside, minus 6x squared. Well, minus 6x squared plus 1x squared is minus 5x squared. And then last times last, minus 6 times 1 is minus 6. So there's your polynomial. X to the fourth minus 5x squared minus 6. And he had to know that each one of these, when there's a square root or an I, it's plus or minus, even if only one is given. If the negative one is given, you got to know the positive one is there. If the positive one is given, you got to know the negative one is there. So that's the answer to that one, and that, I believe, is the whole worksheet.